Hello and welcome. These are horse racing selections for Wednesday, the 18th of June. It's Royal Ascot Day 2. I am flatcapcallum and I'm hoping you are all very, very well. Alright, we didn't quite hit it, did we, on day 1? Got a bit back. The saver on Beverley gave us a couple of quid back, but I was 14 on 336 back, loss of 1064. So we'll do a proper review in a sec. What did we learn from day 1? On the straight course, was there any bias? I'm not sure you could say there was any straight bias specifically. On the sprint races, I think there is definitely a strip of ground, as I've talked about the last couple of years, a strip of ground near centre that definitely seemed to be a fast bit of ground. If you watch the Coventry 6 furlongs, do I'm in the Coventry? Now I'm talking. Is that Gusted? Just checking myself there. I think that's the Aidan O'Brien one, Gusted. Won by an absolute street. Now, that'll go down as top class performance. I think it was enhanced by the bit of ground. If you then watch the King's Stand, that's right, yeah, which was the 340, the 5 furlong race, the front 3 all came up the same strip of ground. So up the centre. So it's hard to sort of say, is there a draw bias? I think there is a pace bias on the sprint that's sort of leaning dead centre. But in the big fieldy ones, I think you could come from either side. The key thing is if you are drawn in the low numbers, you don't want to be on the rail. I think that's basically how I would interpret it. So I'm not kind of factoring in massive draw bias on the sprints. If you go to the 1 mile stuff, again, it did look like there was certain track positioning, but it's more about pace. If you look at the 230 race as an example, the front 3 halfway, even 3/4 of the way through the race, and we had Carl Spackler, who was in 5th for most of the race. Those front 5 were the 5 that finished last, including some of the fancied ones like Lead Artist and Dancer Gemini. So there wasn't obvious on the 1 mile. There wasn't any obvious draw bias on a smaller field. What there was pace bias, and that you generally find that at Ascot. It's very hard to go from the front on the straight on a mile. It suits horses that come from a little bit off the pace and close. And that's why people like historically, love him or hate him. Jamie Spencer's done very well. Hayley Turner's the same. They're jockeys that generally come from off the pace and try and time the run. People don't like Jamie Spencer sometimes because he gets it wrong. It's one of those ones. It's if you go from the front, you've got to get the fractions right. If you come from behind, it can either look spectacular or terrible, right? So yeah, I think he gets it right. If you look at his strike rate, he does all right, and he gets jocked up on some rides. And here's a clue: I'll be playing with one of his selections on Wednesday. And then round the bend, definitely again suited off the pace, irrespective of distance. The ones round the bend, the ones that were off the pace towards the back, generally seemed to come forward in most distances. It was hard going for front runners. That's generally how I read it on the first day. Right, what we're doing on the second day, we're upping the stake a bit. Why are we doing that? Just because I take every day independently, and I like I'm a bit more getting involved in some prices, bigger prices on day 2. A couple more selections on the plan. So it's 3 bets. It's $24.50. That's the total outlay I am putting out the channel. So we did 14 on day 1, $24.50 on day 2, 3 bets. 1 additional horse at Hamilton. Right, get to that in a sec. Let's spin through the review properly. It won't take us long. I think it's hard to know. It got well backed in. The front 5, as I said, finished the back 5. That was 5th, finished 6th basically, because the 5 what was it? Yeah, the 5 behind it finished in front of it. The 5 behind it for most of the race came and overtook it, and the 4 in front of it went past them. That's basically what happened. It wasn't a million miles away. That was disappointing. Didn't really pick up at all in the straight. My Mate Mozzie again was a bit disappointing. It was run up it was running about 6th position, so it was probably a bit too far up the field, but was a disappointing fader, and Daring Leader at Beverley ran the odds-on favourite a really good race. It wasn't far away at all in second place. SP 14s, we had 25s. We got £3 back for that, and then for the bonus bet, the main bet down was the lean horse. That never helps, does it? Power Blue was 5th, which was good enough for Sky. Asphora was Dead Heat 5th, good enough for Sky. King's Gambit was a place. The channel got back 36p off the revised 7-1. If you played that with Sky, you may well have got some in the region of £6 or £7 back. So if you were playing with Sky, you got more than half your money back for the day. So if you took the advised, book it. All right, reminder, if you do play with Sky, take the SP at this time of night. If I say this time of night, if you're watching this at the night, take the SP. If you don't get bogged with Sky, which you don't, take the SP because it's a multiple bet. Okay, so we've got the main flat cap Callum style bet. We've then got what I would say is the most obvious bet for those people who like a bit of each way value. And then we've got the additional bonus bet, which for today comprises 3 horses that are from bet 1 and bet 2, and an additional horse that is not starred, and I'll explain why. But big prices for bet 3. So bet 1, main bet as I would describe it to you. Okay, let's explain, because we've upped the level of complication for day 2. And yeah, I appreciate if you're new to punting, what I do is slightly more complicated. If you're experienced, it's fine. Starting 305 Ascot, Titanium Emperor. I think that race is very, very open. There's quite a few bookies that are paying 4 places, and Titanium Emperor is just massively overpriced. I would have the horse more in the region of about 14, 16 to 1. So it's not like, I'm saying it's single figures, but I think there's a lot of push in that 40 to 1, and that's 14 to 16 to 1 from an each way point of view. So 40 to 1, which is where it is at the time of recording. I will check all these prices after upload, because the videos at the moment, YouTube are really dragging their feet with it. Used to take me a few minutes to literally finish the video, upload it, and now it's taking me nigh on half an hour. So I will check all the prices. Titanium Emperor, I think it's got some decent enough form. I think last time over 1.5 miles demonstrated it probably would look good at 1.6 miles, even though breeding says that's not necessarily its gig. I think from a value point of view, it's sort of my lean of the day from a value point of view. Not strong lean, but is a lean. And then we're going to the non-Ascot horse, 323 Hamilton, Never Dark, 7-runner race. Let me tell you, I'll try and remember this right, because I went down a massive rabbit hole with this horse and was coming up with all sorts of nonsense things. Anywho, what was going to say, so when it's run in races of 10 or more runners, which I think it's done, you can check all this, I think it's 34 times it's run with 10 or more runners. It's won one race. When it is run races where there are 7, 8 or 9 runners, which is done 18, remembering this, 18 times, it's won 9. 9 out of 18 times when there's 7, 8 and 9 runners. There are 7 runners due on this race, and of 7 runner races, it's something like 3 wins out of 5 in a 7-runner race. Okay, this is the type of rabbit hole we went down, right? Everyone's looking at Ascot. I'm looking at Never Dark at Hamilton, right? An experienced sprinter, brilliant. So there's some interesting stats. It's only ran on Sunday and it was terrible. So is that a good thing? Well, last year there was 3 times they ran it. Ran it on let's say it was a Monday, then ran it again on a Wednesday. 3 times they did that last year. Was it 4 times? I think 4 times. 4 times in total, and it won one of those races on the second one out, third twice, and one of them it ran a bad race. So it's got previous from a short break and bouncing back to improve from what it did in the 2-day before. This is 3 days. So outside of those interesting pieces of information and stats, I think the form is good enough that on a going day, despite the fact that this horse has had a very, very poor start in 2 runs for the season, it's got previous for bouncing back. and it's got a good enough form to be really competitive in this race. 7 runners, 3 places with Sky, 365, Betfred, Coral and Labrooks as some other smaller ones. I think it was well worth taking at 18s. Okay, 340 Ascot, running line, won the race last year. It looks like it's coming to the boil this year. I know last time it was a listed race and it didn't win, but it was a step up from the 2 prep runs it ran previous. I think because the prep run, when it won this race last year, the prep run that was quite poor. I think it's just a really, really good price at 8-1 for a horse that won the race last year, and I can't really see why it wouldn't run another decent enough race to be a vying for favouritism. Well, vying for framing. I think it definitely should be a shorter price. Whether it should be the favourite, I add it. It's an open race, but 8-1 in an 8-runner race for a horse that won the race last year. It's a good price. And then we're going into the 2 big handicaps, both 1 mile. It's only the second year in a row they've done these 2 1 miles back to back. 5 o'clock Ascot for open, so 5:35s for the girls, 5 o'clock's for anyone. Yes, it's like nightclubs back in the night, isn't it? Like if you're a lad, you can't get in that one, but anyone can get in the 5 o'clock one. Like it's like the 2. Anyway, let's not digress in there. I'll get feedback. Anyway, 5 o'clock Ascot. These 2 races I've got in a combination double bet in bet 2. These are my 2 lean horses, Ancient Rome and Juliet Augusta. I think they both read form like they are laid out for this race. Ancient Rome has run well at Ascot last year. Yes, it doesn't look particularly well in form, but that may well be just running it down for get a better handicap mark potentially, because this has been a bit of a target. Jamie Spencer is booked, as previously talked about. He does well in these 1 mile handicap races, well, not even just handicap, but 1 mile races, big field, trying to time the right run. You need luck in running, you need to be on the right side of the track, but I think the draw looks pretty reasonable for this horse. And then 5:35, Juliet Augusta, Danny Tadhope, David O'Meara. Again, it looks to me like Ascot is a preferable track, and it looks to me like it's been campaigned with a shout at this. So they are in. So the bet is 10p each way Canadian, some would call it Super Yankee, on all 5. A Trixie, 25p each way Trixie on the first 3, because these are in another bet. So a 25p each way Trixie on Titanium Emperor, Never Dark and Running Lions. That's each way doubles and trebles on that. So 2 separate bets, one with all 5, one with the 3. We've got 50p each way singles on the top 2, an 80p win single on Running Lion. These are covered in the next bet. Bookie advice in this order. Sky are the best ones for extra places for this race, this bet. 365 and Betfred joint second best. Paddy are 4th best. Boyle Sports or Betfair are joint 5th best, and then it goes down. It's quite complicated. Different bookies are different places. For the channel, we're taking 4, 3, 3, 6 and 6 places. £10 is the stake. That's bet 1. Bet 2 is the combo double, which I think is the obvious play if you're familiar with doing each way value stuff. So 5 o'clock Ascot, I've got 4, and the 5:35 Ascot, I've got 2. 5 o'clock, we've got Ancient Rome 18, Popmaster. It looks like it's an optimum 7 furlong horse. I think it's interesting they're trying it over 1 mile, because its best stuff's over 7, but if you actually look, it's finished off its races reasonably well, so I think it's well worth a try at 1 mile. Talis of Olvera, it ran in the race last year, and you could mark it up as poor. It was halfway in the field, but it was 4th of 10 in its group. And outside of that race, it's run pretty consistently, so I think it's worth chancing at a decent enough price. Sean Levy's done all right on it when he's ridden it before. And then a bit of a wild card in there, Wadan. Joseph O'Brien had a really good first day, got lots of good framing horses. This one's an interesting profile. He got it from France. It's run it twice. It ran in a bit of a funny pace. It was listed race last time. And the 2 horses that came ahead were sort of not particularly fancied, and actually Wadan finished ahead of some horses that have got some decent marks in terms of, if you took it literal, that horse looks well in. Whether or not that's the way you want to interpret the race or not, I don't know, but I felt it was worth chancing. Joseph O'Brien's only got 2 on day 2. They're both in this one, and the other one is a super short one, and I thought with Dylan Brown McMonagle on it, 66, as it was worth putting in the bet. And then the 5:35, Juliet Augusta, and then we've added in Queen of Atlantis that ran in a completely inappropriate listed race last time, first time out this season. It was just no. I mean, it was never going to get close in that race. It finished off last season with 2 runs at Ascot on different type of ground, but ran well both times. So I think first run this season in a sight or in a race, it was never going to get close in. Worth taking a chance in this. So we're playing 6 places in each race for the channel. Sky are best because you'll get 7s on both. Paddy next best because you'll get 7 on one and 6 on t'other. And then 365 Betfair Boyle Sports would mean you would get 6 on both. 8 times 25p each way doubles, that is £4. So all combinations of doubles, there's 8 possible double combinations, that's £4. And then we'll put 50p each way singles on all 6. So these are the main 2 races for the day. So if the first 3 go down on the main bet, we're rolling on to this. £10 is the outlay. And then we're going to finish off with basically big price, my big price. So, everybody else, that's like 14, 16s. My big price. Each way combo, doubles and trebles we've got on here. So we'll start off with the new one. So this is not starred. I should have probably written that on there. It's the only horse on the selection plan for Wednesday. Is not starred. 2:30 Ascot. The place terms are pretty terrible. Paddy and Sky are 5 places on that race. I'm only taking 4 for the channel. It's 25 runners. It's a 5 furlong Group 2 2-year-old race. Taking a flyer on Eskimo Pie. The reason I'm taking a flyer on Eskimo Pie, it will get overlooked in the market definitely because it's come like 3rd and 2nd, and that's bare form, and people will be looking at the horses that are like run once and won. If you look at the 2-year-old stuff that took place on Tuesday, so it's trying to, some of the Ascot stuff is what can you learn from day 1 that informs you day 2 and so on and so forth. So on day 1, if you look at the Coventry form, the horse that was 2nd and the horse that was 6th at big prices ran against each other previously in a race at York where they were 1st and 2nd. The Taj, which won that maiden and was 6th in the Coventry, on debut, was 5th place, a length and a bit behind a horse that Eskimo Pie ran against. I'm not going to spend the names are escaping me, right? But basically what I'm saying is there's an interesting form line with Eskimo Pie. And it ran well last time, I think, in the National Stakes at Sandown when it was 3rd. The horse that was 2nd basically ran in behind Taj, which was 6th. So there's basically a form line with that horse, that the horse that just was ahead of it last time was beaten not far by a horse that was close up in the Coventry, and that form looked pretty solid and consistent from the previous race. So whether or not it's good enough for top 4, I don't know. I do believe it will outrun its odds, and it was it's a million miles away from being starred, but as a decent price we put it in. And then I put it basically with the other big prices: 3:05 Ascot Titanian Emperor, and the 5 o'clock Ascot Wadan and Talis of Era. So 5 times 25p each way doubles, 2 times 25p each way trebles, 50p each way single on Eskimo Pie. 450s are bonus bet again. Paddy and Sky are best for extra places, and then it's 365 Unibet, Boyle Sports, Betfred or Betfair. But if we miraculously managed to get 3 places, that's an excellent bet. Clearly, this is the type of stuff where you can, even on day 1 on Ascot, these are the types of bets where there was enough stuff at big prices you could have pulled something like this off. Some people will laugh and be like, you absolute loon, what are you doing? But if you're on the right horses, someone said you could be on the right horses, not on the right day. Got to be on the right horses in the right bet as well. I absolutely am happy to chance this, because the return versus risk reward on something like this, if you even getting 2 places in different races, it will turn a nice profit on this bet. But if we can miraculously pull off a threer, then we'll be absolutely laughing for the whole week. So that's that, 450 bet free bonus bet. Okay, that is me. I think by the time I've actually finished the hours of upload on this video, it's probably going to be about 11:30 uploads. I haven't quite met the target, but we are still out of the realms of really, really, really late, but I would have liked to have got it up earlier. Okay, we'll see if we can carry on the pre-midnight uploads for day 3 as well. See you on the next one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.